You need to watch this if you struggle with understanding how power can corrupt. Benito Mussolini's journey is a chilling example. Benito Mussolini, born in 1883, started his career as a socialist journalist. But by 1919, he had founded the Italian Fascist Party, marking a sharp turn towards nationalism. In 1922, he led the march on Rome, seizing power and declaring himself Il Duce, or the leader, Mussolini's philosophy, fascism. He believed in the absolute supremacy of the state, putting it above individual rights. He saw fascism as a middle path between capitalism and communism, emphasizing national unity, military strength, and authoritarian control. Under his rule, Italy faced severe oppression and terror. Mussolini established concentration camps, suppressed political opponents, and targeted Jews and other minorities. His aggressive foreign policies led to invasions of Ethiopia and military actions in Spain. And then came World War II. Mussolini allied Italy with Nazi Germany and Japan. This decision resulted in millions of deaths and widespread destruction, ultimately leading to the collapse of his regime. Mussolini was captured and executed in 1945. So, what can we learn from Mussolini's rise and fall? Power, unchecked, can lead to devastating consequences. Like and subscribe to learn more about the most infamous villains in human history. Now let's delve deeper into the life and times of Benito Mussolini, a man whose name has become synonymous with fascism and authoritarian rule. Born on July 29th, 1883, in the small town of Predappio in northern Italy, Mussolini's early life was marked by poverty and hardship. His father, Alessandro, was a blacksmith and an ardent socialist, while his mother, Rosa, was a devout Catholic schoolteacher. This blend of political radicalism and religious devotion would shape Mussolini's worldview in complex ways. As a young man, Mussolini was a voracious reader and a passionate advocate for socialist ideals. He moved to Switzerland in 1902 to avoid military service, where he became involved in the socialist movement, writing for various socialist newspapers and participating in labor strikes. His fiery rhetoric and charismatic personality quickly made him a prominent figure in the socialist circles of Europe. However, Mussolini's views began to shift during World War I. Initially, he opposed the war, seeing it as a capitalist conflict that would only bring suffering to the working class. But by 1914, he had changed his stance, advocating for Italy's entry into the war. This shift alienated him from the Socialist Party, leading to his expulsion. Undeterred, Mussolini founded his own newspaper, Il Popolo d'Italia, which became a platform for his evolving political ideas. The end of World War I left Italy in a state of economic turmoil and social unrest. The promises of the victorious Allies had not been fully realized, and many Italians felt betrayed. It was in this climate of disillusionment and anger that Mussolini founded the Fasci Italiani di Combattimento in 1919. This group, which would later evolve into the National Fascist Party, attracted a diverse array of supporters, including war veterans, nationalists, and disillusioned socialists. Mussolini's rise to power was marked by a combination of political savvy and brute force. He skillfully exploited the fears and frustrations of the Italian people, presenting himself as the only leader capable of restoring order and national pride. His Black Shirts, a paramilitary group, used violence and intimidation to suppress opposition and consolidate power. By 1922, Mussolini was strong enough to stage the March on Rome, a calculated show of force that convinced King Victor Emmanuel III to appoint him as Prime Minister. Once in power, Mussolini wasted no time in dismantling Italy's democratic institutions. He established a totalitarian regime where dissent was ruthlessly crushed and propaganda was used to control public opinion. Mussolini's vision of fascism was one of absolute state control, where individual rights were subordinated to the needs of the nation. He believed that a strong centralized state was essential for Italy to achieve greatness. Mussolini's domestic policies were aimed at creating a self-sufficient, militarized state. He launched ambitious public works projects such as the draining of the Pontine marshes and the construction of new towns. These projects were intended to showcase the efficiency and power of the fascist state. However, they often came at a great human and economic cost. Mussolini also sought to control every aspect of Italian life, from the economy to education to culture. He established a corporatist system where industries were organized into state-controlled syndicates and workers' rights were severely restricted. Mussolini's foreign policy was driven by a desire to expand Italy's influence and create a new Roman Empire. He pursued aggressive expansionist policies, invading Ethiopia in 1935 and participating in the Spanish Civil War on the side of Francisco Franco. These actions were intended to demonstrate Italy's military prowess and secure its place as a major world power. However, they also isolated Italy diplomatically and strained its resources. The outbreak of World War II marked a turning point in Mussolini's fortunes. Initially, he sought to keep Italy out of the conflict, but as the war progressed, he saw an opportunity to expand Italy's territory and influence. In 1940, he entered the war on the side of the Axis powers, allying with Nazi Germany and Imperial Japan. This decision would prove disastrous for Italy. The Italian military was ill-prepared for the demands of a global conflict, and Mussolini's leadership was increasingly erratic and ineffective. As the war dragged on, Italy faced mounting defeats and hardships. The Allied invasion of Sicily in 1943 marked the beginning of the end for Mussolini's regime. Facing internal dissent and military collapse, Mussolini was deposed and arrested. However, he was rescued by German forces and installed as the puppet leader of the Italian Social Republic in northern Italy. This last-ditch effort to maintain power was short-lived. In April 1945, as Allied forces closed in, Mussolini attempted to flee to Switzerland but was captured by Italian partisans. He was executed on April 28, 1945, and his body was displayed in Milan as a symbol of the end of fascist rule in Italy. Mussolini's legacy is one of brutality, oppression, and failure. His regime brought untold suffering to the Italian people and left a lasting scar on the nation's history. Yet his rise and fall offer important lessons about the dangers of unchecked power and the seductive allure of authoritarianism. Mussolini's ability to manipulate public opinion, exploit social unrest, and use violence to achieve his goals serves as a stark reminder of the fragility of democratic institutions. In reflecting on Mussolini's life, it is crucial to understand the broader historical context in which he operated. The early 20th century was a time of great upheaval and change, with the old social and political order being challenged by new ideologies and movements. Mussolini's fascism was one response to this crisis, offering a vision of national unity and strength in the face of perceived chaos and decline. However, this vision was built on a foundation of violence, repression, and exclusion. Mussolini's story also highlights the role of individual agency in history. While broader social and economic forces certainly shaped his rise to power, Mussolini's personal ambition, charisma, and ruthlessness were key factors in his success. His ability to inspire loyalty and fear, to present himself as the embodiment of the nation's hopes and fears, was central to his appeal. Yet this same personalism also contributed to his downfall, as his increasingly erratic behavior and poor decision-making alienated allies and undermined his regime. In the end, Mussolini's rise and fall serve as a cautionary tale about the dangers of authoritarianism and the importance of vigilance in defending democratic values. His legacy is a dark chapter in the history of Italy and the world, but it is one that offers valuable lessons for the present and the future. By studying Mussolini's life and times, we can better understand the forces that drive the rise of dictators and the ways in which they can be resisted. So, what can we learn from Mussolini's rise and fall? The story of Benito Mussolini is a powerful reminder of the dangers of unchecked power and the seductive allure of authoritarianism. It shows how a charismatic leader can exploit social unrest and use violence to achieve their goals, and how the pursuit of absolute power can lead to devastating consequences. Mussolini's legacy is a dark chapter in the history of Italy and the world, but it is one that offers valuable lessons for the present and the future. By studying Mussolini's life and times, we can better understand the forces that drive the rise of dictators and the ways in which they can be resisted. Like and subscribe to learn more about the most infamous villains in human history.